Well, guys, we're here tonight. I just wanted to show some quick footage here from the uh, 1 day ago Law and Crime Network. A lot of people are continuing to release new body cam footage in the case. So let me see. Audio. Check my audio. Should be working. I don't know what my sound is going on. Oh, you guys can't hear the sound on the video. You guys can hear me now. All right, I want to talk about a couple different things with regards to the assassination. I have a guest that will be joining me, or should have already joined me. Don't know where he is, but he is supposedly been, he's a guy that has done some great research before on other things, and he said, "Man, I got some stuff I just want to show you that's really gonna blow your mind on this." But I've already been doing a little bit of research on my own, so I'm just gonna show you kind of some of the things that I've thought about or looked into. One is this video from DARPA TV from 10 years ago on guided bullets. So they have these projectile bullets that can actually be steerable. I don't know how accurate they are. If there's all these people like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that God saved Donald Trump by moving his head at the last minute, so that the bullet missed his ear. But is it possible that they use some sort of advanced DARPA bullets to, miss him just so slightly? But then again, if this was a setup, why did they choose to then shoot into the crowd and kill some innocent people? Three people died in the crowd. So, my guest is here tonight, the Science Viking. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we can hear you. So I'm sure you got some videos, and maybe you want to share a screen, and we can go down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I wanted to mention a couple things. I had some people that bought into some of the propaganda that was put out in some of the mainstream press today about Robert Kennedy. I guess there was some story that went around the Washington Post and a number of other places that said that he endorsed that he basically called up Harris's party and offered to drop out of the debate and join her, if he could have a position in her campaign as, like, attorney general or something stupid. I forget what the article said, but again, there's no posting of this anywhere on the campaign website or anything like that. There's no recorded interview of him saying this. There's no recorded recorded conversation of him calling up the office. So this is a fake story, and a lot of people fell for it. I got it shared, and people like, oh, it was on all these reputable sites and stuff. It's being shared around. I mean, but yeah, but the source is anonymous. This guy named Tyler Durden, who can't even put a real name, or there's no sources on any of the stuff. And so Robert Kennedy's calling it fake news on his channel, and he said, right in this statement, he said, VP Harris's Democratic Party would be unrecognizable to my father and uncle, and I cannot reconcile it with my values. The Democratic Party of RFK and JFK was the party of civil liberties and free speech. VP Harris is the party of censorship, lockdowns, and medical coercion. Kennedy Democrats were anti-war. Kamala is riddled with neocon warmongers. The RFK JFK Dems were allies of Main Street cops, firefighters, and working people. VP Harris is part of the party of big tech, big pharma, and Wall Street. My dad and uncle's party was the champion of voting rights and fair election. VP Harris is the party of lawfare, disenfranchisement, and coronation of its candidates by corporate donors and party elites. If used our nation's courts to prosecute corporations who hurt Black Americans, VP Harris used our nation's courts to mercilessly prosecute Black Americans and exploit them for their labor. My father and uncle prided themselves on their skills at debate and their ability to articulate a coherent vision for our country. VP Harris is scared to debate and can't survive an unscripted interview. Instead of outlining the vision, she relies on middle school tactics, memes, forged headlines, infantile slogans, and name calling. I've spent years battling government corruption and lies. VP Harris spent years gaslighting Americans about the health of our commander in chief. You have no plans to endorse. I have no plans to endorse Kamala Harris for president. I do have plan to defeat her. So I hope that clears up the fake news that was being spread by so many different outlets that that Robert Kennedy was a traitor and that he was going to, basically sell out to VP Harris's party just as, because he didn't believe he could win. He's destroying her, and they're putting out in all the media and the polls, like they're blacklisting Kennedy, and people still are finding out about him, know about him, and are passionate about him. Nobody feels that way about Kamala. I live in the most democratic heart of the entire country up here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and you won't see a single sticker for Kamala anywhere, but you see Kennedy and Trump stickers everywhere. And people are I would never imagine would support Trump was saying that they are supporting Trump now after the assassination attempt, which we're going to get back into right now. Sorry for
No, that was good. I think it's really nice to talk about these other kind of key points that really feed into a good discussion of what happened in that event and why anyone should be suspicious in the first place. It's like anyone can be.
The polls, because people are saying that these are the polls and they're neck and neck. But you go on, the couple people have run polls on X, and I know that X is, a little bit biased maybe, because it's run by Elon Musk now, and Elon has endorsed Trump. So there's a lot of Dems that have left the platform, and also there's probably there's a lot of Dems that follow me and stuff. So I mean, a lot of Republicans and independents that follow me.
Did you see when Kennedy, he published this video a couple months ago, and it showed that there was no way for Biden to win. It was just based on polling data, the best polling data they could find.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to go take their own polls, because the polls that I've never been polled once in my life. So like, who are they polling and where are they polling? And you'll find that the reality is probably much different than what they're saying. They're saying, Robert Kennedy only had 5%. Now he's dropped to 3%, that Joe Biden dropped out and Harris is in the race. And it's just like, no, they're pumping Harris up in the media really hard, and they're really trying to destroy Kennedy in the media, especially
predictably so, right?
As latest fake news story, had me I was seeing I went and looked it up, and I'm like, wow, it's in like all these major publications, like all over the place. But I'm like, I still don't believe it, because this just seems so. I've been following Kennedy for since 2020, and I'm just
right.
I know his campaign, and I'm like, dude, this is so out of character. Like this doesn't make sense that he would do this. It doesn't sound like something he would do, because it's like, oh my God, if he did that, he's a complete traitor and he's a liar. And maybe it's but I realized there's like a bunch of CIA people trying to convince people that he's like, he's bad. There's all these people trying to convince people that they're afraid of him. They're definitely afraid of him. I didn't realize how afraid of him they are. They wouldn't have so many people out there like really trying to attack people like me for endorsing him and saying, because I got hammered today when they put out that news story, and I was just like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So
it was
coming to these topics.
It's so real, because it was propped up by 5 or 6 mainstream organizations that just
which highlights the danger of the argument from authority, right? But in some sense, it's inescapable, because we can't verify every fact all the time. Only things that are important enough, and even things that are important, it takes time. So it makes sense that if a bunch of credible people are saying it, the first reaction that anyone would have is to think that it's correct. It's the next step, right? The the suspension of belief and disbelief, right? To dig deeper and verify it, right? Which is the key step that gets skipped um, by I can't even think of a good word, but I'm just going to say Michael Shermer and the whole point of getting people into a mindset where they disbelieve things instinctively, whole classes of things
Yes.
right. It's the opposite of being scientific. It's anti-science in the most egregious way, and then applying that to crimes committed by groups of powerful people is, in my mind, the most unethical thing that anyone could engage in, um, especially when they're effective and they can convince wide swaths of the population to disbelieve everything that they hear as soon as they hear that it involves a conspiracy. Then immediately they jump to, well, then it's not true. And the person
Right.
who's saying it is someone who doesn't verify their facts before they come
Right. Or they
to a
don't.
solid
Yeah.
belief.
They have this idea of a conspiracy theorist in their head, and really they there's so much noise and crap information out there that it's difficult to see. But we time and time again, you look back and like there's so many things that we called conspiracy theories for years, and then it turns out that hey, there is this thing called Operation Mockingbird. They did
Right.
take, an 18-year-old news reporter, or 20, I think he was 20 years old at the time, and prop him up out of no. Dan Rather became this major news contributor because of his involvement with the JFK assassination. But he's the guy that lied about the Zapruder film for the CIA.
Whoa, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
wild.
a lot of people don't know that's how Dan Rather got his start, and that proves Operation Mockingbird is a real thing, because he literally, if you watch this account from November 25th, 1963, he talks about viewing the Zapruder film, and he says that in the film you can see Kennedy's head move violently forward, and that's not what it does in the film. The head moves back and to the left, as anyone who's seen the movie JFK. By Oliver Stone knows. So,
I haven't actually seen that one, but I
oh,
have
that's a
seen.
good one, dude. You haven't seen JFK?
No, I haven't
You
seen
gotta
that one.
watch that. I mean, it does get into a lot of stuff, man. It hits a lot of angles, and Mr. X is Fletcher Prouty. Just so you know, like he's like the source. He's like the FBI agent that was feeding Garrison's office all this information.
Oh, I don't know.
So yeah, there's real like cast behind the characters. There's a real story there. Um,
I'm gonna
so
grab this. I'm gonna grab this book I read. I never looked into it, and then like 3 years ago, I did start
wait,
looking into
I
it.
remember I was watching this thing with my family, because my family's doesn't they don't believe, they think the conspiracy theories are all nonsense and stuff too. But they're all college educated and stuff. And
Yeah, it's crazy.
we were watching this every year they put on like the things about the conspiracy theories, and they have this propaganda that they put out to basically like brainwash people against the real information should they ever come across it.
Right. It's like MK Ultra is really interesting and a really significant, important example that real nefarious elements do exist in the government, and people should not instinctively disbelieve that all such groups exist. But that's not actually how they manipulate people. They might do some kind of crazy special ops that it's real hard to know what they do with that. But their standard manipulation of the public is just bread and butter, Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, um, and the Constitution of Knowledge. Like those two books explain these concepts the best. Like when you get people into a place where they feel very comfortable with a certain set of ideas, and whenever those ideas come up, they're not thinking slowly and carefully. They're just reacting in this way they always react. They're very confident. They have no suspension of belief or disbelief. They immediately jump to conclusions, and then you can't get them off of those conclusions because they're just convinced that those are real, even though they haven't taken the time to look at the facts. And it's
Yeah,
the same people who will insist that they are scientific, right? And that they follow the science, and they protect science from the anti-science conspiracy theorists. I
right.
can't help but just blame Michael Sherber because of that. Like, there's some examples like that article where he uses the word in two ways. A classic sophist technique called equivocation. He uses the word conspiracy theorist, and when he defines it, it's just someone who has a structured belief about a conspiracy, right?
Do you have a
And
link to this article? Is this Michael Shermer? Where can I
uh,
find this?
yeah, let me give you the
Yeah, I would
paper
like to,
I
because
wrote.
I've talked to Michael. I have his email. We share some emails back and forth on
Do you
stuff.
think that he would ever discuss this with me? Because if he is an honest person and these are honest mistakes, I would imagine we could bottom out on that relatively quickly. I don't think it would be difficult
Yeah,
to
because he's still on this. Who believes in conspiracies and why? He's still giving speeches and giving and talking about these old ideas and stuff.
always,
Uh, but
yeah.
but you can see he really hasn't done his research into the conspiracies, and he's relied on these like blanket, repetitive arguments to sort of minimalize, marginalize, and then claim debunking victory like through a straw man technique over
Right.
the actual argument, which he hasn't. I actually put him to. I wish I could have challenged him more, but it was hard for me to get a word in a little bit a couple times, there on the on Brett Weinstein's podcast. But I nailed him against the wall with that insurance companies thing because that was the argument. All the arguments that he used, I turned around on him, and then you could see that he backpedaled out and went to the no planes stuff, which was
I I really like Brett's way of approaching the topics. He had a really good podcast with his wife a couple weeks ago that my dad linked me, and they were talking about the Trump assassination. It was the first time where I've ever disagreed with Brett on almost everything that he said for a good section of the beginning of the
yeah,
podcast. But the discussion he gave of like these the way that people will take a concept that's generally valid and then they apply it in the world in such an extreme way without careful attention to detail that it becomes a cudgel or it can distort their view of reality in a way that is very difficult to pull them back from. Um, the Let me see. Let me give you this article that I was talking about that Michael Shermer wrote. Here, let me quote him too. He says, "I define a conspiracy as two or more people plotting or acting in secret to gain an advantage or to harm others immorally or illegally. I distinguish a conspiracy from a conspiracy theory, which I define as a structured belief about a conspiracy, whether it is real or not." And that's in on why people believe conspiracy theories. One of his, all of his articles are kind of the same thing, that
yeah.
people who believe in conspiracies are unable to identify patterns. I mean, like, patterns are math, and
I mean,
I
it's
don't want to be a
yeah.
dick, but there's a reason why he picked psychology and didn't go for the PhD. Oh, I
Well,
don't think
I didn't,
I,
I didn't, I didn't get my PhD. I only have a bachelor's degree, but I definitely did more of my homework on this one subject than him. I've talked to a lot of the experts, and I've debated a lot of people on this over the years. So,
and
um,
going back to your previous point, like, really a person's education level is not nearly as important as their willingness to carefully seek out information, compare it to their beliefs, and then refine their beliefs according to the information. right? And
Absolutely.
right,
Absolutely. You can't like judge that, you know, and I have it's funny because uh, it- it's 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 funny because I've been going at it with Brian Keaton back and forth again lately, you know, and he actually 12 hours ago recently put out a new video. I haven't watched this one yet. I just saw it before the podcast started, so I have to go and watch this one now.
Terrence Howard, yeah,
Talking
you
about
know.
Terrence Howard, he gives an apology to Terrence Howard. That's what he starts off with.
Oh wow,
I don't know if
someone linked me that, and they were like, "You got to watch this Terrence Howard thing," and like, I really love him as an actor, but it was like when he got to the point where he said he had like I'm gonna mess up the number, but I think he said he had 37 patents, and I was like, and he said that he can't, the ideas came to him in his dreams. I was like, there it is. That's very straightforward. I'm just gonna look up his patents right now. If he has badass patents, and he said they came to him in his dreams, then credibility is established. And
yeah.
I couldn't find them. I found like a couple that were rejected.
He had a
Um,
couple under different names, like, there was a I mean, I found a bunch of them eventually. The first time I searched, you know, it was difficult to find them all, but I found about 20 something of them. I didn't find 37. But
okay, what name?
oh, I have to go. I have a video on that that I did when I did and I go and show I had all the slide. I close all the slides after I do a video on it. Usually when I do a bunch of research, I'll get all the tabs open, then I'll do a video, go through all the tabs, and I'll close.
Ooh,
That way I can close everything out. So
nice.
it's all in that video if you want to go back on my channel.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, I love how Brian, you know, tells his audience, you know, you want to stay fully informed on breaking news, compare coverage, and avoid media bias. It's like, how can you even claim that, dude? I wouldn't even claim that. I'm biased and I'm not fully informed. Okay, and you're not going to be fully informed from watching a 1 hour podcast with me. Okay, I don't think you know, and I laughed about his other thing because you know he dissed me. He's like, I've talked to the real expert in UFOs. You know how this guy worked for the Pentagon. He knows all this classified stuff. Yeah, but he can't talk about it, and he doesn't want to talk about it. Doesn't think you can know about it. I'm sure I could ask him I'm sure if I had an interview with him, I could ask him questions for an hour straight, and his response to every single one of my questions would be, "That's classified, and I can't talk about it." And that's how much classified shit that I know about that he wouldn't even been able to talk about. All right. So when you're talking about a guy like me who's done 20 years of research in this stuff inside and out, yeah. So what if I call myself an alien scientist, the alien scientist? So what? You're judging a book by its cover, and you're proving you just
Yeah,
proves to his audience that he just judges the book by its cover, thinks that I'm some UFO fanatic who believes that UFOs are aliens, because that's what he's saying in his comments. He's like, "Oh, UFOs are not aliens," and Kirkpatrick proved that. And blah, blah, blah. I'm not arguing with
UFOs are not aliens. He proved it. How could he?
that.
What?
He's saying all this stuff about I don't know what let me go back to the actual argument here if I can find it on here so I can read it.
You know what I think we
So I
should
don't
talk about?
misquote him because there seems to be a lot of this misunderstandings and stuff. But because it's funny, he basically accuses me of, you know, I didn't. He claims that I built a warp drive. You know, I never claimed I built a warp drive. You know, I show like there's one patent that we're working on that we got positive results on. If you want to check it out, I'll show it. I'll show it on the screen and talk about it. Right. We're going to replicate this patent right here. You can see.
Hey, is this the one with the alternating electric fields in the outer shell that I sent you? The Navy
Maybe
one? One of the is related to it?
is it Robert DeBias?
I don't remember the guy's name. I never remember
This is
anyone's
the
name.
inventor, Robert D. Bias, but it's a force cell to provide propellantless propulsion for linear thrust applications and fuelless torque for rotary applications using external Casimir forces. And it's this wedge-shaped cavity with the Casimir forces, and it's a bunch of these. It's a ladder of these wedge-shaped cavities.
Ooh, I don't think this is the one I sent you.
Yeah, so
No.
this is a new one. Mark said he built this and he got positive results. So we're in the process of building our own now and trying to replicate it. And in addition to doing the Charles Bueller stuff, who's the NASA scientist that came out last year, last Christmas on my channel. So there's a
So
lot of people that he's gotten bad reviews, and he's like, "Oh, why is this? Is because all these UFO believers," and he thinks that I'm one of these UFO believers or something, and he gets me mixed up. And it's like, dude, no, I have a lot more. I have a lot more of the curriculum, a lot more of the information in the background than you do. I mean, Brian, these guys are both really new to this topic. You
I
know,
mean,
Patrick.
this is one of those topics where I feel like the only way that people can have real strong views that this is not possible and definitely doesn't exist is if they have never spent any time looking for the best evidence and then carefully considering it. Right. I remember there was like one,
Right.
I hate to just go back to Michael Shermer, but there's like one video I saw of him in the last couple of years. He's got like a stack of books and he's like, I've read all these books about UFOs, and it's all like testimonies of people who said that they were kidnapped, right? Like maybe that's what a psychologist would start with. I mean, I don't want to like assume ill intent because I don't. Everyone makes mistakes. That's just the nature of trying to think about things. But the best ones are like the ones with fighter pilots, right? Where you have things recorded on radar, and you can see it on air traffic controllers report that they could see it at the same time that a pilot's reporting a visual sighting in the sky, right? So those are the kinds of things that someone who really wants to know if these things are real is gonna pursue intently, uh, and try to explain. And then once when someone takes that avenue, it doesn't take long before you hit a point to where you're like, yeah, this can't be explained with human technology. Absolutely not. Um, and if people make the point that we have have developed these things, it's very possible we could have these secret projects. Of course that's possible. It actually seems likely. Also seems incredibly likely that they would want to keep that secret, and the idea that people can't keep secrets is another one that's like, there's no scientific basis, and all the empirical evidence says the opposite. People do keep secrets, important secrets, for a long time.
Yeah,
um,
and a lot of it's kept to security through obscurity. It's just even when it's stuff that's declassified, right? That's
right,
just
yeah.
it's just so obscure that people don't know about it.
And
So
then they just want to be like, hey, it's no big deal. Okay, yeah, we put paper clips on the Nazi papers and we brought them into America. That doesn't mean that they had any influence on people and their thinking. In It doesn't mean that we should be concerned about their the people they influenced and what those people are up to today, and should they be involved in clandestine activities. um,
here's here's the X post on by Brian Keaton. He says, yes, some even claim to be quote unquote alien scientists and haven't got a clue about the scientific method or awareness of their confirmation bias. I suspect the loudest ones can't even solve a PDE, but claim to have built LQBR warp drives. That's what he says. He suspects that. Well, why do you suspect that? Because you haven't done any investigation or any research? No, we're not claiming
exactly.
we built warp drives. We're claiming we built this stuff by NASA
Yeah.
scientists, and we're trying to tell you about it. And you're telling me I can't solve PDEs when I know what a PDE is, a partial differential equation, right?
Yeah, I had a friend and it convinced me to take that class. He said it would look good on our resumes when we applied for jobs. And I took that one, and
Yeah, we solve
I
those.
just apply the same kind of rigorous, giving a shit about what's real and figuring stuff out to all these topics. It's bizarre that how few people do that, right? And it's like, I think the people who do that do actually take that approach. they'll take it with one topic, and they'll have that one topic that they disagree with the mainstream on. But then if you ask them about anything else, the stuff they haven't looked at, then they think it's all crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done plenty of APEC conferences. I would suggest, if he likes to, like, he thinks math is like a measure of this stuff. I'm an experimental physicist. That's what my degree was in, and I'm more of a hardware kind of nuts and bolts, build it kind of guy. I've always been, more than the math kind of side of it. I'm not like a heavy theoretical physicist, but I mean, we've got some great theoretical physicists on the team who presented at APEC.
Right, takes
If
the
you're really
team. Yeah,
interested in the math stuff and you want to show off with fancy integrals and tensor calculus and
right.
D'Alembertian operators and all your
That's where that expression comes from. We this is why we don't let engineers turn wrenches, right? Because the mathematician will go in there and strip all your bolts out and like just
right,
wreck your experiment. They'll have
right,
to do it all
exactly.
over. Everyone's
Yeah.
got
So
their
I don't know,
dish.
there's different parts of stuff. So um yeah, so Nathan Innan would be one person to look up, and then David Chester, and I would love to see, have interview either one of those guys, talk to them if I'm not on the academic level enough for your page, Brian. I'm sorry. um and I get into the conspiracies, but I don't deal with theories. I deal with like the facts, and I deal with like real research and information. And anyways, yeah, I thought that was funny that he did the Terrence Howard thing, and that also he you know made that comment talking smack about me. And I replied back to him, got a lot of, go check that out, please go
Don't have a clue about the scientific method. You know, the scientific method is something, that's worthy of really discussing because people whiff on that so hard.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it goes back to like at its core, what it really is what human beings have been doing for hundreds, thousands of years, which is that we observe, we think about what we observed, we speculate, and then we observe again, and then we think again, and then we speculate again, and then we observe again, right? We just publish it and share the ideas with other people, so that instead of a little group of hunter gatherers sharing the ideas, which they can figure out all kinds of stuff, and over hundreds of years, they'll know every medicinal plant in the area just with that small communication of ideas between people. But it's amazing how many people think that there's a problem with speculation and don't understand that the key role that creative synthesis of new ideas from old information and well understood ideas is critical to all progress in science.
right. How do you know if there was two shooters or not if you don't investigate it? If you just say, hey, this is a conspiracy theory, we need to trust what the FBI says about this,
Right.
even though they covered up for Epstein, they cover up for massive crimes. 9
Yeah.
11, 9/11, they hid evidence. They were the entire counterterrorism task force was flown to Monterey, California the week of 9/11, so they'd all be out of place in like the other side of the country while flights were grounded, while all this stuff was going on in New York. So there was all these like shenanigans going on with the FBI that have been proven. Then the former director Louis Freeh, his attorney, he's now the attorney for Bandar bin Sultan, the Saudi prince that was named in the 28 pages as financing the 9/11 hijackers, and the former FBI director is now his attorney. So it's just a weird, wacky world with the FBI. Nobody trusts them anymore. So but the public who doesn't know that information because they've only watched the media will trust the FBI and would think that I'm a nutbag for even questioning any of this stuff or even questioning the FBI. I mean, why would
So
the FBI lie?
yeah, right. Yeah, like it's just like, oh, it's the FBI. Like, boom, I tell the truth. Trust me. And it's like, when you give someone that kind of a badge where like you'll believe whatever they say, that's the badge to lie, right? That's like power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately. I messed that up. You know what I'm talking about. So I watched this video and he messed up. Okay, so first I should say I did my own sound analysis, and I calculated and I ran through all the math of the speed of the bullet and the speed of sound and what we should expect. Because it just looked like, first of all, the fucking pictures with he's got the blood on him and the crowd's chanting USA, USA, and then he goes from like he's a criminal, a lot of people hate him, he has very little chance of winning this election, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, the stock market jumps up and everyone's like, oh yeah, Trump is gonna, now he's got it, and people are like pretty sure he's gonna win, all these people are going for him. This is like just screaming horse shit, right? Like they shot him in the perfect spot to where, and then he like, dude, still, I don't know how many people have ever been in a place, but when you get guns pointed at you, like the shit is scary. It's not, you don't get up and expose your head to the crowd and then fist pump. Like bravery is nothing to do with it. It's not about bravery. It's about death and how in the
I mean,
human
you think like
psychology. No one does that. If you watch real attempted assassinations and how people act and how they speak about it afterwards, it does not resemble what Trump did at all. He's he's just cheering on the snipers and goes on about what great the job the law enforcement has done, and all these things that are just not. This is not what someone who came within inches of death says. He would be fucking pissed. He would be furious. He would be, he would have very strong emotions, and it would not be gratitude and, appreciation. Nor would he have fucking.
but you got to think from he's a showman and a strategizer, so he must
Yes, a
have known that
master.
like,
The one of the
okay, the
best.
Secret Service has this whole situation locked down. I'm probably
No,
safe.
no,
I should do like some crazy photo op shit for and
no,
win me the presidency. I don't know.
no, no. If that's you or me or someone who just, if this
I'm
is
a nut
real,
job though. I would do something like that.
no, you would be like, these motherfuckers didn't clear that roof. They're trying to kill me. That's what you would be thinking. You would be with your fucking head down. You would be going to your SUV and you would be like, what the fuck? They're fucking crazy. They're trying to kill me for real. Not like fight, like God. And then everyone's like, USA,
They
USA.
could have staged it, man. I mean, you think the guy he was like a BlackRock pro Trump, supporter and stuff. It seems like, but then
Yeah.
again, how do you sign up for death? Like we're gonna kill you, like. And
So right. So that's the key thing, is that if it was a setup, he was never close to death. That's why he doesn't have PTSD. That's why he's not pissed off and angry. Right? The people, it's like, how mad was he about Russiagate? They and all this stuff. He's fucking pissed, right? Fight, fight, fight. But then he's not mad that the Secret Service like just let that guy take a shot at him. And like, there's one video that they released like last week, and I swear you can see he's looking at the sign. He sees the shooter. He sees the fucking shooter on the roof. Trump sees him. He's looking right over there, right? Like, so if it is fake, then he wasn't close to death at first. Okay, so with all these topics, like I like to just like see whatever's out there, because you never know when someone's gonna have some good idea. And there was one that was about JFK, and that ultimately I found that his conclusions were not plausible at all. But it was very interesting in that he talked about this idea of a squib, which they use in films, right, to simulate a bullet impact, right? So I looked at this, and the first time I watched this video, I thought I saw a fucking squib, right? I thought I saw that when he reached up and hit his ear. I thought I saw this little poof So I went back and I slowed it down and I went like
Yeah,
frame
I've
by
seen a
frame.
couple people do that, and they've got, like, the picture that they've got the actual frame with the bullet going by and grazing his ear.
No, 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 not no. Wait, the grazing his ear? Seriously? That would be insane. So if they, oh, okay, no, no, no. So this one, all right, that's what I was gonna get to. Okay, shit, where was I? Um, all right. Anyways, that video that you showed before, the guy screwed up the angle on that on those bleachers, right? And I watched it real slow, and I watched some videos where they're panning the audience to make sure I knew exactly where the people who got shot. And there, it's yeah, it's that in this one, yeah, it's the guy in the blue that the guy in the red is the one who got hit in the back of the head, right? And there's a clip of the medical guy, technician, doctor, some kind of doctor. He was there and he tried to help him and he tried to give him first aid. I mean, he was done, but he gave an interview afterwards and he said that he could hear the shots coming from behind him. And then when I analyzed the sound, so there's the guy who's on the ground and he's kind of over by the warehouse, and it's the video where they're saying, look, you know, he's up there, he's got a gun, and they yell that, right? And then and then the other source of sound is the microphone that Trump had, right? So the when you look at that image of that bullet next to his ear, uh,
And then people talking about this water tower too, the second shot, like the second like a sniper on the water tower.
see, I don't think so. I went back and I isolated each gunshot
Yeah,
sound and I looked at the distance between the peaks, right? There was a little bit variation, but it could just be the difference between hitting something in the more distant background or something in the closer background. But everything matched up. It looked really good. There wasn't anything that was like a real obvious, okay, you guys, for your theory to be correct, you're violating the fundamental laws of physics. And, you know, there wasn't anything like that, like we've seen with past events that were highly suspicious, and some of them beyond a shadow of a doubt we know that the official story was wrong. So I looked at all that and it all matched up except for that picture where the bullet's by his ear. Because if you look at his arm position, right, his arm's at a certain position, and then if you go back and you take the footage that the news crews have and they're facing him straight on, and and yeah, like this picture from the front, when you see his hand position, if you go back and you look at where those sound waves line up, the you've already heard the crack of the crack boom when that picture is taken,
right.
which shouldn't you should see it first because sound is slower.
Right.
It's possible that I'm screwing up this analysis, but then if that's true, I want someone to explain to me how this makes sense for that crack of the crack boom, for the first sound that bullet makes to be made, and then you see it on the screen, because I don't think that makes any sense. And then if it doesn't make sense, then uh, if it's not possible for that bullet to be there when he took that picture, then did
All
someone
right.
have that picture ready? Because as soon as that's like one of those things that as soon as everyone saw that picture, they really stopped thinking about it. And anyone who suggested that maybe this wasn't what it appeared to be, seemed it makes them seem like they're just being ridiculous, because you can see the bullet. Like they caught the bullet on the camera. I actually did the calculations of the speed of that bullet and the shutter speed that guy had. I mean, it's suspicious that the guy just happens to have this ultra, you know, fast shutter speed camera right there to get this perfect picture. But actually, with the speed of his camera and the speed of that bullet, the odds weren't that bad of of him catching it. Um, I think it was like it travels like 100 feet in between clicks of his shutter. So he could have caught the bullet there, but if he did catch it, it should still make sense with the sound. Um,
Yeah, we should do an audio breakdown on it, but I don't know if I have time right now. It would be good to do like a good video, well produced, solid video on it rather than try to do it live. Um, I just want a poll of everyone out there. Who do you think did it? One for God, two for Trump, three for deep state, or four for lone wolf. It was just this one kid.
well, okay, so let's be real detailed in these questions, right? I mean,
Yeah.
God, like does God
Oh,
like a notoriously misogynist champion of the rich of the ultra rich who I mean, at least he doesn't like to start wars in other countries. I mean, that's good, but like Operation Warp Speed, that was his baby. Like these things are not. He's not a good guy. I don't know how. It's like everyone sees that blood on his face and him saying "fucking fight, fight, fight," and they're like, "Wow, what a brave champion of the people." And I'm just not. I'm not buying it. Not at all.
yeah, it could have been with a little bit of three help, help from CIA or something, like that's what other people were saying. I know, like I saw this interview with this guy talked to a bunch of people like Andrew Bustamante and others. He said, oh, they'd have a friend that would come visit, this sniper months before and make friends with him and talk him into doing all and set him up and get him, in on all this stuff. So
Yeah, right. And it's like that kid was like a Republican, and then all of a sudden he's got this weird, like he literally donates this money to Biden, and then he tries to kill Trump. Like maybe, I mean, it's possible. That's the hard thing is about this stuff too. It's like unless you catch them in something that's not physically possible, then it's really hard to show what's a crime and what's not, which
yeah,
is fair point for people to say that sometimes people jump to conclusions and then I think the key point is like you're suspicious and then you carefully examine the evidence and then if the evidence is there you follow it and if the evidence says no this is exactly what happened, it was just the luckiest thing he could have ever hoped for to fucking guarantee him the presidency, he just gets shot right in the tip of the ear, like he's not hurt, and then he's just like real brave and no PTSD, just fucking guaranteed him the presidency. Like that shooter just handed it to him, just like boom, this is it. Here's your master propaganda film, photo, talking point. Fuck. I just can't. I just am going to be pissed if later someone really nails the analysis and it's fake and it's like and we lost this election because of that. I think like there's some really good investigative journalist pieces about stolen elections, right? And the ones that I'm talking about are in 2000 and 2004 where right like there was the hanging chads in Florida where they set up the pamphlets and like the people everyone who got that certain voting ballot like disproportionately voted for Newt Gingrich and they realized that like it was set up so that they thought they were voting for Al Gore but the way that the voting thing was set up it was for Newt Gingrich and uh, and I think there is reason to be very suspicious of companies who have control over what are essentially black boxes where we can't do any investigation of those voting machines, right? Like if they were going to lie and say that whoever they wanted to win would win, like who would do an investigation and show that that had happened? What evidence would they use,
well,
right?
there's that guy. I remember one of the elections, they had Diebold had come out and said, they were going to do all the voting machines, for the government under this big contract. Like they had done all the federal ATMs were Diebold and stuff. So Diebold was going to do all the voting machines, and then they built this whole voting system, and it was supposed to be like the state of the art and unhackable. And this guy showed how a simple program he could put on this card, he could just put the card in the computer, and it would recount all the votes for.
And there was something shady with the owner of that company, right? He was related to George Bush somehow.
It was in Hacking Democracy, I think that was the name of the 2006 Emmy-nominated documentary film, where they showed that.
Whoa, I haven't seen that one. Dang. Yeah, there's a lot of good investigative journalism. So this is the thing that bothers me about Trump too, is because he told all of his voters not to send mail-in ballots, right? Told them not to do that. So predictably, you knew that when the polls closed, the live polls, there was going to be a lot more Democrat votes coming in than Republican votes, because we knew he was telling his voters not to mail them in. So then he comes up with this mail-in, ballot fraud, which there could be some fraud. There probably is, at least a little bit. But is it what he construed it to be? I really do not believe it was anything like that. And the reason is that, as with everything, like I watched a bunch of stuff waiting for someone to show me evidence. One of them was that guy. I forget his name, but he's of Indian ancestry. He's from Harvard. He's a mathematician. He's also running for president. I forgot his name, but I watched this video.
Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah, so he's got a video where he's talking about the election fraud, and he's putting up graphs, right? So it's like, I can verify this. No, not him. Sorry, that was not him.
It's not him, right?
No, not him.
He's running for president, though, right? No,
he is. I kind of like him a little bit sometimes. It was a different guy. Not him. Nah. Who was the other guy? There was another one.
Wait, so say it again. What was he talking about?
He's talking about Trump election fraud statistics in Michigan.
It's not Vivek. Dang.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I gotta find out who you're talking about, and but I don't know. Yeah, you'll have to find that one, because I want to know who that is and who you're talking about. Now we got 2 new members tonight on the broadcast. Thank you for your membership and signing up. That really helps out the channel. Yeah, it was that other Indian guy.
Does anyone say that? Someone in the crowd's got to know his name. I'm gonna feel like it.
Patel?
No.
Kish.
Not Kish Patel.
Dr.
Oh man, he's on X. I listened to him one time. He was talking about his campaign. He was talking a bunch of garbage that matched his shitty video, but the video was nice because it's fucking math. Like you can just check it, and he was lying. Like he was blatantly lying. I actually did like the long analysis, and I posted it in the Discord channel, and my fucking friend from high school was drunk, and he fucking nuked the Discord channel when he was pissed at me one night.
Oh.
So I could go through it, and I can do it again, and I'll share it. But otherwise, I'll just have it right now and share it with you. Trump election fraud.
Yeah, I wish you had like a demonstration and stuff.
I'll find it.
That would have been cool.
All
Hey,
right.
thank you. The RFK thing, I think is great. He's really just listen to the man. I mean, watch his debates, watch his interviews and stuff. I think he's he's so smart and knows this stuff inside out. And the people that call him anti-vax and then question him and get him debates with him on the vaccine stuff, he just owns him. And I admit this show is a little bit of a mess. I know this people are talking shit about my guest, but
What's
this
TPS?
isn't his best topic by far. We're kind of we're kind of a little bit all over the place. If if I get him back on to talk about the vaccine stuff, you definitely blew my mind with some of the research you were doing into that. When I met you a year ago, so I'll definitely get him back on at some point to do another discussion on some of the but YouTube really doesn't like us talking about that kind of stuff, so maybe
Uh-oh.
we'll have to do that at Rumble or why don't you come on the after hour discussion? We'll open this up because I want
I
to
gotta find the
down before
video.
the hour mark because I don't people won't watch videos that are over an hour, so I'm trying to keep my videos under an hour. So
What? All right, it makes sense.
yeah, no, I know. I don't know unless you got something crazy you want to start getting, but I really want to. I'm getting tired, and we should probably we can get like I wish we were a little more.
I'm gonna link this in the chat so people don't think that I'm just full of it. I gotta link this video, then they can look at it for themselves and see that this guy was just lying. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
You know
find
what?
the video.
Hey, I got one more. A real good. This one I haven't heard anyone else say, and I think I mean, it's real obvious in hindsight. So Fox News and that voting company, right? Fox News paid him a huge settlement, right?
Yeah,
Fox didn't even try to really fight it. So they got two birds with one stone there. One of them is they set a legal precedent for people. It's like if you question the election results, if you call someone a cheater, you can get sued. So that's bad for democracy. Then two, they paid the voting company who runs the machines a shit ton of money, right? Like if they did cheat for them, and I never bought it when they were like Hillary was ahead and they were like 90% chance she's going to win. And then the next day Trump wins and they're like, oh, people must have just been embarrassed and lying on their way out of the voting booths. That's what must have happened. And I was like, for the first time ever, that's the fucking, and no, we don't need any evidence because we'll just throw that out there and people will be like, oh yeah, that's what happened. They just were embarrassed when they left the voting booth. So even though all the polls showed him losing, and then the fucking black box voting machines are like, yeah, he won. Everyone's like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, he won. And then Fox News pays him, well, I don't know,
what I thought was crazy.
six.
RFK talks about how he would have handled the lockdowns, which I think is great. The way he talks about because Trump locked everyone down. He said he wasn't going to do it, and then he went along with it, and he didn't stand up to any of these the creeps that were lying to us about the vaccines or the virus and stuff. But I think
Yeah,
it's crazy in hindsight because it was a man-made virus, man-made bioweapon, whether it was made in Fort Detrick, Maryland, and then made to look like it leaked from the Wuhan biolab or not. That's a whole nother discussion and theories that's abound. There should be investigation into all of it. It's almost too late now because Fauci knew they were going to go after him and deleted a ton of stuff. So it's like, the Department of Justice is screwed because if they should have just arrested him on the spot and then before you could delete everything, but it just doesn't work that way. And because Trump was president and they literally stole the election from him from his stupidity because he locked everyone down and then they did the mail-in ballot fraud and everyone who counted in those states knows it was the Dems stole that election. But you're not allowed to talk about that or say it. But anyways,
I
yeah,
remember that dude who made that video too. I remember I saw that he was QAnon, or he like tweeted something QAnon. Maybe someone will remember
yeah.
now.
I don't think Trump, dude. There was nobody supporting Biden, and there was so many people supporting Trump. Man, there's just no way. I don't believe that he could have possibly. But anyways, Yeah, I think there should be an investigation into all this stuff, and the fact that they just call it conspiracy theories, um, you know, and I just it boggles my mind that
Hey,
it's we're still there.
hey,
You know, so many conspiracy theories have turned out to be the truth and the
let me
fact.
let me show Shermer's article. Can I screen share? How do I do that?
Yeah, you can screen share, and I really got to get going though. So, and we got a bunch of people waiting backstage to jump on, including someone I was supposed to meet with today, but I thought we were on for Friday instead, so I left him hanging.
Okay, all right. If you got people backstage, that's cool. You can do it. Uh, I'm just gonna link it in the. I'm
Oh,
just
you
gonna
got
link.
it in the private chat right here. No, no, I don't
Is
see it.
it? No. How do I? I don't know where to type stuff in here. Exit full
You go to
screen.
private chat on the right,
Private
and
chat. Okay, here it is.
yeah, you can type it
All
there.
right, there. See it?
This is the skeptic.com thing.
Yeah. Just click that link. It'll take you right to where he his equivocation
I,
sophistry technique there.
I don't know if it'll let me post it in the comments, but
Here, I'll do it. Join the chat.
yeah, I know who that is. They wouldn't let me post it. It split into 3 comments, and they got a ton of these things, man. That's awesome. What's up, Maddie? How you doing, man? That's awesome. That's cool, man.
StreamYard.
Anyways, yeah,
Yeah, got it.
jump
I'm
on.
posting it. There it is. It's letting me do it now. Comment has failed to post.
I'm gonna drop off the live stream though, guys, and then I'll post the link in the description so people can check that all out. So definitely,
Here's the article. Oh man, I can't even post the article.
yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and
It's sure. It's fun.
yeah, we'll do another one soon. Definitely. Thank you.
I'll show you the video with the sound breakdown too.
Yeah, we got to dig into that a little bit, but it's crazy, man.
I
It's
have
really
one in slow mo. I'll show it to you.
awesome. Let's do it.